driverless cars, connected services, new sharing concepts. The automotive industry is in the midst of change. The Internet of Things is opening up a whole new world of possibilities that will push the boundaries of mobility. But what will the future really look like on the roads? One thing is for certain. New technologies are going to revolutionize today's mobility. They will turn the journey into a digitally enhanced experience and connect the vehicle to its surroundings. With Bosch, connected mobility is becoming a reality, more efficient, safer, and more comfortable and convenient.
Itaú Veículos. Soluções completas, ferramentas modernas, alta tecnologia. Reconhecimento facial, mais segurança e agilidade na compra e venda de veículos. Chat na plataforma digital. Comunicação mais fácil entre a concessionária e nosso time. Open Banking. União entre plataformas e parceiros. Inteligência artificial. Essencial na captura e gestão de leads. Soluções de mobilidade. Com a Connect Car, seu cliente vai mais longe. Olhamos para o futuro. Queremos sempre mais. Vamos juntos? Itaú Veículos. Nosso negócio é viabilizar o seu.
Mounting exterior automotive parts can be a slow process that requires the use of a noxious chemical adhesion promoter. However, our Tessa ACX primerless line of high-performance double-sided acrylic foam tapes eliminates the need for primers. These tapes quickly achieve a high level of strength and provide the thermal expansion characteristics needed when mounting side moldings, decorative trims, emblems, and other exterior attachment parts. To learn more about the benefits and cost savings of using our Tessa ACX Plus primerless line on difficult-to-bond substrates such as polypropylene EPDM, TPO, and TPE, visit tessatape.com.
Estivemos durante todo o mês de outubro na SVWC, o maior evento de transformação digital da América Latina, levando conhecimento em Libras e proporcionando inúmeras oportunidades a toda a comunidade surda. Convidamos você a fazer parte dessa transformação que vai incluir mais de 500 milhão de surdos em todo o mundo. Vamos juntos buscar mais igualdade entre as pessoas. Junte-se a Wise Hands.
Come and join us at Wise Hands. Hi. You're welcome to one more step of the fourth phase of the Experience Brazil. This is going to be a very nice afternoon, and I, in truth, would like to say that our topic has a sponsorship from ICA. We're going to talk about digital transformation of automotive quality. So we have 2 hours with specialists who are going to be up to 4 o'clock with us. I would recognize the represent the main class entities, the Metro, the Sindipeças, as other associations of the industry, and we already have a long tradition in product certification, quality systems, labs, development of training material, and training in different companies that belong to clients. But IQA is also a place to discuss where quality is going, what quality, how it changes in time, and what comes together with our discussions and our business with the time. Our market currently is going through technical modifications, and the speed of the change is exponential. So we began at the beginning of the 90s with the sort of electronifying of vehicles, if you like, and after all this time we're moving towards a context of driverless cars and connectivity of vehicles with other data systems. It is a change which is already here. We already see these technologies circulating around our streets, and together with the technology, IQA forecasts changes in the business model. So in the future, we will not necessarily only be integrated with the process of vehicles, but perhaps we can add to our institute discussions some topics related to the business model, like sharing vehicles, sharing trips, and the quality experience that new clients of this mobility might have when they access the service, and not only a product, the car in that case. So it's clear for us that this is a very interesting discussion, but it brings big challenges to us, challenges of knowledge and methodological challenges as well. The qualification and experience that we have accumulated in the Institute during all these years and the different technologies is going to have to be enriched as we add digitization, artificial intelligence, computing power, and other technologies to our business. So what we propose to do is follow this route. We have very qualified guests that have a lot of experience in these new segments of technology, and I'm sure that we're going to have a very good conversation also with the participation of our audience. So to end my opening words, in the name of the Institute and the management of all these associations, I thank you, and I give the floor back to Claudio, Moises, and to Alexandre, who might want to add something. We have a bit of instability. We are connecting Claudio. I think that Alexandre can give a message, and then we will try to bring Claudio back. So let's start with Alexandre. Perfect, Giovanna. Thank you very much. And with no doubt, we have this situation of digital transformation where a lot of information, a lot of challenges, a lot of issues are bombarded to us day to day. And the automotive quality and the evaluation of conformity has to adapt itself. We have to confront these challenges at the same level due to the importance in the organizations. The IQA, Institute of Quality, as an institute bringing information to this event, as an evaluation of conformity, we have the role of adjusting ourselves at the same speed to support the automotive industry and society. All these adjustments, they involve N possibilities: remote auditing, drones, artificial intelligence, validation of software, authorizations related to cybernetic issues. Everything's been developed and treated in this sector, and IQA has a definite role in all of this. several of these trends, whether they be current or future, they will be the object of the discussion in the future. We're very happy to hear, to listen, and to understand how we can support the sector and IQA that spreads this information, be able to help the industry, the commerce, and the services on the point of view of quality to the automotive area. I thank automotive business and all of you who are watching the event in the name of IQA. The screen froze, folks, so let's continue with our program because I think Alexandre was ending his opening words. So I propose that we continue. And for our first discussion, while Claudio also connects to give his initial words and to participate in the next discussion, we're going to talk about quality and digital transformation. In which phase is Brazil? And we have research that was done about digital transformation and quality, how the companies are dealing with this challenge. So I'm going to bring Evandro Gama, who's a teacher and coordinator. He's in postgrad, in the Institute of Technology. Deborah, who works in IQA, and Moises, who's the executive director of IQA, and who will be with us shortly. Hi guys, good afternoon. Hi everyone. How are you guys? Are you prepared? Well, when we have challenges, we adjust the journey. So Deborah is going to give us the results of this research. We're loading the presentation. I think we can start seeing the results, and then we can have Evandro's comments. And as soon as Claudio is okay and his connection is working, we'll bring him into the conversation. Can we do it this way? Perfect. So, Deborah, we're loading the presentation. If you like, if you can, you could sort of put it into context, how this research was done. So please feel free. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for the presence of all of you. Today we're going to share with you the research that IQA developed about digital transformation and automotive quality in Brazil. Our research, it was supported by the Sequal Group, together with Singi Peças and Anfavia. We also had the support of automotive business. We had over 600 companies participating, and altogether we had 135 participants in our research. 60% of these are companies of the productive chain, and the manufacturers are included in this. In this context of digital transformation, IQA understands the importance of this topic, and that's why we developed this research to analyze and be able to make a forecast of digital transformation and the impacts in the management of quality in the Brazilian sector. You can move to the next slide. Okay. The people who are saying that they understand the difficulties and the struggles of the digital world. Thank you very much. We can move on, Deborah. Go ahead. So here is the introduction and the understanding of the digital transformation. So we try to have information to be able to forecast the changes of the digital world. Well, we had 135 people responding the questionnaire. 60% of companies in the automotive chain, including the manufacturers. In this context, we have to the impact of the digital transformation is very relevant and significant for 83% of the participants. And within the technologies that they pointed out, digitization, connectivity, automation, cloud, and big data were the items that were most mentioned as in being important and relevant in the digital transformation in the area of quality. The degree of importance of decision making to invest in digital transformation takes into consideration the benefits that it's going to bring for the company as well as the amount invested. But at the end of the day, what really is important are the legal aspects of the digital transformation, what has to be done legally. And another topic which is important in the digital transformation is the mindset, the cultural mindset, the transformation of the culture of the organization. And what we notice with all the results that came in is that the awareness and the qualification are important topics for the digital transformation. So, besides this, it's extremely important that the management be totally committed with this digital transformation, and there will be then an engagement of the organization in this cultural transformation. So to end, we also share that the evaluation of the conformity is seen as extremely relevant to the majority of participants. At this moment, I'm going to give the floor to Evandro and to Claudio so that they can debate and chat about the results that we just presented. Professor, have you got YouTube on? Because we ask you please to not have the YouTube on because it interferes in the transmission. We can hear it through your audio. I think perhaps you should leave. Não, mas ela a gente não ouve. We're trying to adjust your audio, Professor. If you could say a few more words for us to try to adjust it here, because it came through with a huge echo. Hello? Professor? Hello? We do not have your audio. Evandro, I can hear you, but I don't know if the other people can hear. We're going to adjust everything and we'll be back in a few minutes. So, can you hear me? Evandro Devro, can you now hear me? Yes. So, we can start. If you're ready, we can start. Well, I'd like to know exactly how long I have. I don't think Claudio is present. I have a few questions here in front of me that we can talk about, and I can ask the questions and then I can respond automatically. There's absolutely no challenge. I'd just like to know how long I have. I think we can do it this way. You talk about the topics, you comment, and then we can bring Claudio in further along in the program. Not a problem. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, well, first of all, my name is Evandro Gama. I am a mechanical production engineer. I work with information systems for over 30 years. It's accompanying or following all this evolution. I've worked with different systems, and today I can help IQA and the Brazilian automotive market, how we can think and how we can transform this digital transformation with the systems of quality control. So that's our main focus, right? Before starting, I'd like to tell you a bit of what you already know about quality management. Quality management is supported. This started actually in 2016. This was a stepping stone with the ISO 2001. It's a quality management general system, and then this is done by several OEMs and the situation of the market and associations that has a posture so that the market is certified in order to be able to attend the LEMs, etc. So then things begin to move. So how are we going to talk about the sustainability of this? Is it platform 3.0 or 4.0? So then we understand the platform transformation. When we talk about digital transformation, we can't talk only about technology. When we talk about digital transformation, we have a change of a legacy of ideas, and then a legacy of 10, 20, 30, 40 years of all this industrial going to a new level with new technologies that are pertinent, that are brought by this new idea, of this new architecture of the 4.0 industry. So I always joke and I say that from today back, I call everything 3.0 industrialization, never mind the time of the organization. And now we're transforming all these industries. So the idea is we work with the models of the 3.0. I'm going to explain. So how has the industry behaved itself in the last 10, 20 years? It had a regimen called the ISO 95. This system has a vertical integration system, and you have a sort of a model where you talk to the directors. It's an interoperability, and we noticed that there was as a consequence of all this story, we had sort of silos of knowledge and a lot of difficulty in collaboration and integration, no matter what the process, but especially in the process of quality management. So what are the main processes of quality management that we talk about? For you to understand what a FEMEA, MSA, Giuseppe, etc., and all sorts of different cycles that we know. There are conventions that have already been established. So we have this criteria of continuous improvement of the industry 3.0. That's it. All of a sudden there was a wave, and 4.0 industry has arrived. So how what is it doing for us? What's the benefit for us? So I'm a teacher of the Mawa Institute of Technology. I formed the postgrad of the industry. So I live this my day-to-day routine. So how to transform. We have one group that's already finishing the course, and we notice the need of people, especially research, which is to actually bring in the high management. If they don't buy the idea, then nothing happens. So let's go back to the industry 4.0. There's a different architecture. Why? Why is it different? So we have to understand this transformation. It's a different vision. In my course, I say we have a physical vision, a logical vision, a functional vision, an application vision, and each one has its concept. So how do I transform this architecture, which used to be based in processes, to an architecture that's much more based in results? So results, the main goals, and reduce the delivery cycles of this architecture, and then productivity, be more competitive, larger, etc., and a platform that is allowing the collaboration and collectivity to be important. So you can put the sensors, for example, where you want, or in your plant, or so the level of the architecture has changed. So what is digital transformation? It's to pay attention, your collectivity, according to what the research showed, and this solves a problem if you pay attention. The main problem, for example, that I adopt is the problem of collaboration and digital integration in between these different islands: engineering, product engineering, manufacture engineering, the factory, the process, the floor of the plant, supply chain, and putting everything to talk together. When I talk about this, we have to see what are the frameworks. All of this is based on the 4.0 platform in Germany that has associations with the US and with China, IA, France, Italy, and so it goes. So Industry 4.0 Germany, and then you have several literatures. There are more than 150 books talking about this transformation model. That's what you have to pay attention to. That's what I always say. There's no magic. There are references, there are rules. So you have to pay attention to what the rules are. That's what we tell everyone in our course. So, excuse me, Professor, let me interrupt for 1 minute. I'm going to request you please to bring the main points of the research in a very summarized manner, since we had a delay of the program in the beginning, so that we can actually make up for this. I was actually ending my talk. So summarizing, thank you. Summarizing, there's no, if I'm going to think objectively, there's a difference in the application of a concept or the different ISOs together within 9000 2015 on the platform 3.0 and the platform 4.0. And we're here to help you have this sustainability in the platform 4.0. So let's go to the questions. I'm going to be fast.
The first question was as follows. The respondents said that the digital transformation is affected by digitalization and the community. I have already answered, but I'm going to be brief. There are basically two worlds in the automotive world, in this automotive planet. OEM, IT1, where there is where they are more developed, and ITM2, where they have a different cultural level. I had already answered that. Secondly, the digital transformation is considered as relevant by most organizations according to the survey, but knowledge hasn't been consolidated yet. Whenever you try to innovate, you have to pay attention to what's happening. First, we have to look at people, secondly, processes, and third, technology. Okay, buy technology, I have money, I can buy it, and then you fall on people. So that's always the case, and also on the platform you have to have knowledge, and knowledge is built. There are references. You're not able to effect digital transformation without preparing or priming your organization. According to the survey, the cultural transformation, strategic vision, and leadership are essential for the digital transformation process. How do we do this mindset change? If you don't have a mental model implemented in your organization, if not everybody thinks the same way, if you start top-down, going from the CEO to the different directors, etc., if everybody speaks the same language, you have already taken, instead of having a snapshot, you have to have a plan to implement the change. Otherwise, you won't get there. So my recommendation is that we can help to implement the mental model in order to update your mindset. That's it. Perfect, Professor. I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to thank both Deborah and Professor Evandro to be here with us today, sharing this information, and somehow throughout the day we'll bring this digital transformation agenda, which is one of our pillars here. And then we'll go on, and now we'll go on to the next panel. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. See you shortly. See you shortly. Well, we still have some bumps along the way, but don't forget to send questions. Now we'll go on to our next panel. We have very special guests, Flávio Mateus, General Managers of Schaeffers in the United States, and Antonio Carlos, CIO of the PSA Group. Good afternoon and welcome to our seminar. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to our audience. Flávio, while I ask the first question for Antonio Carlos to answer, Imagine that you are connected. I imagine you are connected via your cell phone. Please change the direction. Antonio Carlos, could you please answer about the major impact of digital transformation on automobile quality? Because we have been talking about the digital transformation, how you have approached this theme at PSA. Very interesting subject. The digital transformation is a support tool. It helps you ensure that you have an appropriate information basis and that you use this basis in order to make the most of everything. So it helps humans. For instance, I can give you several examples. For instance, at the design stage, when we anticipate what might happen to the product when it goes into a virtual plant, and we are able now to anticipate several defects that in the past we only identified at the production stage. We have also been able to improve the communication with the dealership. When the car has a problem, we're able to trace back where the mistake or the fault started, and we are able to track down all the cars that have been manufactured in the same batch. So we have been able to use the digital transformation, digital technology, in order to improve our processes. Thank you. Thank you for your introductory comments. Now, Flavio, I'd like you to elaborate on this theme, and I'd like to add that the quality area has to ensure that everything is running smoothly, safely for all the involved. How can the quality department, in addition to incorporating innovation and technology, how can it support the digital transformation? Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity of taking part in this forum. Well, I would say the following, Giovanna. It's not the quality department that's going to lead that in the digital age. As far as design is concerned, we need an even more refined and detailed approach than what we had in the past, in the 3.0 industry stage. You no longer developed products as we used to. So, at the design level, we have to have quality embedded in the design department, and this is going, and that's not only between car maker and tier 1, but tiers 2 and 3 will also have to be involved in this digital quality process, because companies are developing systems where we have to have commercial partners at tier 2 with the same technology level or even higher in order to deliver the system we are delivering to the car makers. So a control software, an electric engine. And if we don't have this quality approach already at the first steps of the process, imagine what's going to happen at the development and manufacturing. What about cyber safety? This is a subject we have to bring to the fore because this is a growing concern at the car maker sector industry because we have more vulnerable cars, more vulnerable plants than others. So I'd like to hear Antonio Carlos and Flavio about how you have tackled this issue, ensuring quality as well at the cyber safety level or cyber security level. Sorry. Who begins? Ye- Okay, I'll begin then. Cyber security. We have some mobility products being manufactured here in the United States and being used in cars, in vehicles. That forced us to make a few changes in our manufacturing plants. For instance, employees' entitlements or access, different entitlements for different jobs, especially when you have software embedded in the product. That gave rise to some restructuring of the company at large. We don't limit access only to certain areas. We have to limit access to the information existing in the system, and we have to record that properly. For instance, one of our products today, one of our mobility products, staying a data marks code that gives me his whole history up to or down to components, who worked in the product, deadlines, dates, times, and what was done to the product. So I can trace it back completely, precisely to make sure that if something was not done accordingly, it can be traced back, it can be found and removed from the market, or we'll have to debate with our client how to remove that from the market. Is Antonio Carlos back? Can you hear us? Yes, I'm back. Thank you. Could you please elaborate on cybersecurity as well? This is a touchstone for us. Our product is French, and we use security concepts in all products. We are even very picky. We want to protect everything. We have to protect several points, several checkpoints, not only protecting the entry of information, but as our colleague said, we have to restrict access to information. We have an in-house security information system to give access to certain people and not to others. So we have a whole technology protection chain, and so far so good, no problems. But it requires a lot of investment, I can assure you. It's certainly a challenge. You have been working with partners? Because the car making industry has become aware of these problems relatively recently. Have you established partnerships in order to learn more quickly? Yes, we are establishing partnerships with startups precisely in order to bring our best to the market. We want to give our clients what they want. We want to improve our final product to our clients. So we use partnerships for that as well. Same here. We have partners. We were sort of forced to look for partners Schaeffler didn't have this technology available, or it was beginning, it was giving its first steps. So we did some joint ventures here. We added partners in order to bring technology and embed it in our everyday activities. Now I'd like to talk about the Brazilian Data Protection Act. We know that we'd have to have more time in order to tap this theme, but this is something important for both companies and individuals. And first, I'd like to hear Antonio Carlos first. What have you been doing in order to comply with the new legislation, abide by the new legislation, and make sure that that's a parameter for quality as well? Well, we have been using the European law. We had to adapt a lot in Europe because because there was this law in Europe, and our Brazilian Act is a copy of the European legislation. So we have a whole department in Brazil dedicated to identifying all the points. We have been adapting our systems. We have been receiving demands from our customers, and we have already met them. So this is a priority. We have part of our budget devoted to the Brazilian General Data Protection Act. Our great challenge, and I think that's a challenge for all car makers, OEMs, is to get to dealership level. That's a great challenge, but I think we're treading the right path. Thank you. Flavio, you live in the States, but would you like to touch upon the subject? Do you have anything to say about the Brazilian General Data Protection Act and how our legislation compares to that in the States? As it was previously said, this is a global theme. Schaeffler adopted European practices for the whole group, regardless of the local legislation. We adopt what our headquarters adopted in Germany for digital security and individuals' data protection. We have already implemented these requirements both in Europe and the United States, and thanks to this solution developed in Europe, we are able to comply or abide by the legislation anywhere where Schaeffler is present. And I'd like to ask you a question from the audience. Please don't be bashful. Ask questions. I'd like to ask Flavio the following questions. Are there risks for quality when we think of the 4.0 industry and the shop floor? Do you have anything to say about that? Risks, in a way, remain the same. Now, worsened by the fact that we have digital components. That means we have many more integrations via electronic pathways, and if this integration is not properly done, properly designed since the beginning, as I said, since the conception, the risk is to receive wrongful information in a machine or in a given process. So, when you design the project as a whole, be it at the design, validation, or manufacturing stages, this architecture has to be validated. Now, there are audits and the allspice system that's dedicated to quality at the design stage, because we have to detail the design a lot more. The ATF requirements, even though there is an approach for the 4.0, we see that we have to go even deeper, we have to go even further than what ATF requires as far as digital project design and architectures are concerned. We have to work on the project hierarchy, software, the integration of the different models composing a project, be it a digital project or a mobility project, and the risk for the manufacturing plant is that if this stage or this phase is not properly done, no process control will correct what was not translated properly by project development. So this is the risk we run today. So the validation, the checking stages are much more detailed and much more important before we get to manufacturing. Well, we're about to conclude this debate. I'd like to ask a final question to both of you about the future of quality. ABX and ABQX are events that look ahead, thinking of the next horizons of the car making and mobility industries. And I'd like you to give your vision about this future horizons. If we are going to driverless cars, and others, we believe that the quality parameters will have to adapt to all that, right? Beginning with Antonio Carlos. Excellent question. Why was Uber successful or Airbnb? Its greatest success is the classification or scoring of both users and drivers. You're able to look at your driver's score. You can accept the driver or not. You can establish the quality level you require. When you do a purchase, what's the first thing you look at? You look at customers' reviews of the product. So the main challenge for quality today is no longer the quality that we thought at design stage, engineering process, but now we have to think of quality perception as well. What the client or customer perceives as quality, and we have to react very quickly to the client's quality perception. So the main challenge of all this whole transformation process we are going through now is that the customer has a strong voice, and now he can share his satisfaction or dissatisfaction with a lot more people. Flávio, please. The same way for us as system provider or tier 1, the customer's opinion has become much more important. Developing systems for urban mobility, being integrated in driverless cars, or different autonomy levels of autonomy for cars. The customer has a much sharper perception about these things. Up to a while ago, the OEM had to ensure the satisfaction of the final customer, but now this includes tier 1, 2, and 3, because what has been embedded or embarked in the car will have an impact on the final client satisfaction. So, as Antonio Carlos said, we had to adopt practices in order to measure what the final customer perceives about our product and propose improvements, or we have to avoid the customer from having a bad perception of our product. We, as system providers, have to ensure that both for the OEM and for the final user who bought the car. Thank you. Well, our talk has come to an end. I'd like to thank you very much for your time, for your willingness to be here in this conversation with us. Thank you very much. We thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of taking part in this conference from the United States. Goodbye. Thank you. Now the audience stays with us. I'm looking at the chat. If I look down, that's because I'm reading your comments. Please send your comments and questions. That's what we are here for. And now we are going to talk about what the disruption in the car making industry have to do with quality. Now we are going to welcome Raul Pereira, Quality and Environmental Manager at Elring Klinger, Paulo Rogério Gabriel, Senior Manager at the Automotive and Mobility Development at Ipsos, and Richard Schwarzwald. I hope he will help me pronounce his name properly. Global Head of Quality FCA. Welcome. It's very good to have you here, and I hope Richard will connect soon. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Okay, let's go on to the first question without further ado. While we wait for the questions from the audience, I'd like to elaborate on disruption. So, could you please start by answering the question? Since we have technological disruption, disruption in use behaviors, the industry also had to face a disruption caused by the pandemic. It's a lot of things together. Could you please explain how all this affects quality? And I'd like to give the floor to Paulo Gabriel. Good afternoon, everyone. I think all of us were impacted by the pandemic, and we still are. It's not over yet. But I'd like to talk about clients' or customers' perception and their expectations. That's my expertise. I conduct surveys with the consumers, and what we have seen is that the pandemic changed several ideas. Cars or owning a car was not important before the pandemic. Now, the pandemic made people to value the property of a car. People were thinking of car sharing, carpooling. People didn't think they had to own a car. Now, with the pandemic, people feel safer inside their cars. It's a car where it's a place where I can control everything. I know who's sharing the car with me. I can control the hygiene, etc. So we go back to what happened a few years ago. People feel that they have to own a car again. China was one of the first countries to control the pandemic, and there we saw a growing need or a growing wish to have cars. So when the pandemic is over, we don't know if it will ever be, the intention to buy a car is much higher than in the pre-pandemic period. That shows that the car has become important again. And thanks to survey conducted in China, we saw that items like, a particle filter, air conditioning filters to eliminate viruses and bacteria or harmful pathogens is one of the most important items right now. So they have become increasingly important because, that's a safety item. Just like before people wanted ABS brakes, etc. Now they talk about air conditioning filters in order to prevent certain harmful insects or bacteria, viruses, germs to get into the car.
Richard, welcome. It's a pleasure to receive you here in our discussion. Richard, can you hear us? Raul, please. Can you hear us? I think you're on mute. Have a look in the bar below to see if maybe you are on mute. It's perhaps your headphone. No, we still can't hear you. Richard, can you hear us? Can you hear me? Well, we don't have the communication, so I'm then going to ask Paulo Gabriel another question. You mentioned the logistic challenge caused by the pandemic. So, according to the Ipsos following this, what was the impact in this logistic part of the... And please tell us a bit more about this future vision. Where are we moving towards? Because today we already see lack of some components, some materials. Is the tendency for this to adjust itself, or are we going to continue with this instability? Well, it's not really my area, but I'm sure we can talk about what we're seeing. I worked a lot in plants, and I know the difficulties. Well, I think the chain has been broken at a certain point, so supply was paralyzed. A lot of the components come from different parts of the world for you to build a car. And this link between the countries broke, and then Brazil got into a very difficult crisis with no parts, and also the interruption of production. We went through 1 or 2 months that a large part of the factories installed in the country stopped producing cars. We know that this ends up by impacting the quality because these processes are automatic, they're repetitive actions, they need training on the job, the operators working in a continuous way. And when the system is paralyzed, the sort of coming back is always complex. So the industries were stopped. There were no suppliers. The stocks are very low. We need their parts. They need days of production. Everything was interrupted. I think now things are coming back. The majority of our clients are of this automotive sector, and there are a lot of difficulties. Some with more difficulties, some with less. So this process was very traumatic, and I think that now we're starting again. We still haven't reached what we wanted, our goals, but we do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The perspectives for next year are better, and I do hope that everything will go back to a state of normality and that my companions are able to talk a bit and connect as well. Exactly, it's a huge responsibility, right? It's not only you answering, right? Yeah. Hello. Just because you wanted, there was a problem. How can you hear us now? Yeah, I can hear you very well. Good. This is Richard's audio. Richard, say hi so that we can check if everything is okay. Richard, hello. Say hello. Ah, Richard, I'm going to ask you. We can see that you have a delay. I imagine that you're following the transmission by YouTube. If you could please disconnect YouTube and watch it here in the transmission platform, then our dialogue will flow much better. Could you do that? It's off. It's already off. Good. Well, I think we're good now. Richard, thank you for your presence. I would like to go back to the first question when you arrived, and we've been talking about this disruption context or technological and even the productive chains in the pandemic. So I'd like to know how all of this impacts quality, please. Well, first of all, thank you, Paulinho, Raul. Nice to see them again in an event such as this one, very well organized. Thank you for the opportunity. When we talk about the pandemic or about ruptures, things that we don't imagine will ever happen, crisis, what comes to mind is the vision of an opportunity in crisis, where we look back and we say, wow, what isn't working? Of course, a disruption comes as something unexpected, something that we didn't think would happen, a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties that happen, or something a bit more serious like what the problems that we have. But what we always see is that where our preventive processes are, especially the preventive processes that prepare organizations and the whole productive change, the suppliers in our industry, from the raw materials to the dealers, what are the processes that we took care of so that they can go through this disruption and these crises? And following the latest discussions about technology, when you talk about a technological disruption that arrives, it brings an opportunity, it brings knowledge, new technology. We always have the discussion related to people, how we led and prepared people so that they are leading the new technology, so that they are leading the processes, so that they can lead a crisis. So alternatives are found quickly because the crisis and the disruptions have one thing in common: the speed, the reaction that we have to have, the knowledge, the information, the exchange of information. So I believe that the state of mind has to be of alert. I have some background noise. He says, yeah, we can hear you. Because I think it was Flavio. Quality is not an area that is going to solve the problems. quality is an organizational state where all the areas take care of the processes in an organized, integrated way, centered on the client, so that we can confront these challenges of speed, technology, or solve a crisis. How one more test? Yeah, I think the stars have aligned now. Bring these considerations to us, please. When we talk about risk analysis, we started talking about this way back in 2015. I don't think the best crystal ball could imagine what would happen during this pandemic, where we had to reinvent ourselves as a company. We had to align ourselves, not only us, but the manufacturers as well. And the legacy that we're going to leave in all this process is how committed people and processes are, so that a product or a service will have a good result way forward. And I'm sure that not only my company, but all the companies, they are reinventing themselves at this pandemic moment. And those that are going to stay in the market are the ones that are going to be able to stabilize themselves quickly. There's no point saying, today I have something that is 30, 50, 100 years old and I can just lay back and relax. No. Fortunately not, because the rupture and this dichotomy of the process is going to be knocking on our door. So now we are coming out of this crisis. Europe is having the second wave, and we hope that the perspectives for next year, the market is already very close to what we had before the crisis. Our quality levels, we see that the manufacturers felt this a bit in the beginning internally. Also, we felt this as a report of the Singipasses, but now we're getting back to normal numbers. So those are my thoughts for the time being, G. Perfect. So if everything works out, one doesn't talk about it. If there's not a huge recall, if there's not a manufacturing problem, it's not a topic that gains a lot of visibility to the general public. Of course, the industry is always focused on this. So I would like to hear some final words of each of you. So how this area of automotive quality evolved in the last years. And I would also like to understand if the results, if your achievements are bigger than these huge challenges that we currently have. Let's start with Paulo. Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello to Richard. We worked together for about 10 years. It's an honor to be able to share this table with you. So talking now about quality, I lived a long time. I continue living, but I think there's a statement which was said by the ex-president Fernando Collor, which actually changed the concept of automotive qualities when he said that the Brazilian cars were like carriages. That was in the 90s. And I think from then on, this restructuring process took place. I don't think that our product was bad or of an inferior quality, but the comparison of the parameter of comparison were the European projects, and then we were light years away from these European products, and from then on I think that it was year after year of evolving and understanding more and more. I only look at the client's side, the opinion of the client in the first place, and after 30 years went by, I think our product is comparable to the best products in the world. Of course, we have the financial issues that we cannot always acquire the best products in Brazil, but it's part of the package in Brazil. Today, the level of the quality and the technology is very close. And the speed issue, what was important yesterday or 20 years ago, for sure, it doesn't make sense anymore. And what we're thinking today about quality for the current consumers in 6 months or a year won't make sense. So things are very dynamic and very quick. And to follow this opinion of the client, to take this into consideration, I think is the what is important. We have to listen to what the client needs, and we have to deliver accordingly. Raul, what can you tell us? The world, everyone says that we're in the VUCA moment. And what we notice is that these cycles are quicker. The World Economic Forum released the future of work last July, and I thought it was very interesting because it says we'll have to reskill, which is in 2025. We're going to have to sort of train people again every 6 months. Things are going to change in a much shorter cycle and much more volatile. So the capacity that we have of learning is going to be different. I'm not talking about quality engineering. I'm talking as a whole. We're going to have to change. We're going to have to model ourselves. We're going to have to continue a learning process, and we're going to have a critical mindset. This is another point that is going to be part of the skills that are necessary during the next years. So what can I say? The client is way forward. He wants the product the way he wants it. It doesn't matter if it was approved with that part or how. If the final client doesn't accept, we will have to adapt. So this refresh moment, this moment of making things happen in a quicker way will make the difference between a supplier, the manufacturer, A, B, or C. So I think that's what we're moving towards. Great, Richard. Thank you. Richard, what's your analysis of all this? Paulo talked about being close to the client. He feels close to the client, but one of the things that I think that has changed in quality recently, Raul mentioned this very well, is that this proximity to the client is permeating the whole organization. So I think this is very important. An organization that understands that quality is a state of the organization with all the functions, the activities, all the moments. I think this closeness to the client is fundamental. So that's what I've seen. This has changed in organizations. So the customer experience, the vision that it's not the delivery of the product, but it's the experience that the client has. And when you put this proximity together with the client, in the context of a client with more information, with technology available, in a speedy manner, what he wants is where he is, what he's looking for, the things that exist today, and what we have. When you put all this together with the technology that we have available, that's another challenge with the rapid production. I think that has really changed. I think quality deals quality, always thinking about this as we all the areas that are part, engineering, the suppliers, everything that has to be coordinated in this complex chain. It deals with technology, which made all the professionals evolve a lot in terms of precision, knowledge, technical knowledge, to be able to put this all into the vehicles and for you to have this availability with the client. So the evolution has been there's been a lot of change in quality, and 30 years back, for example, I think we can be, if we talk about the last few years, I think the increase of the complexity of vehicles, the increase of this complexity was very big in the last few years. So this quality state in the organizations had to be adjusted to be more precise, to be quicker, more technological, more diverse knowledge, to embark on this new technology within the context of the proximity, be faster, have more information. So all of this is fantastic in this evolution of quality in the last years. I think things are changing. We're closer to the client with more technology. I'm going to link two questions that our audience is asking. One is from a partner of ours. She talks about quality service. This question of us being in a transition period or in a different combination of business of the automotive sector, which includes a series of other services. So I'd like you to mention how this impacts quality and how this has been. And also we have another question in the chat. Quality and being competitive. How do these sort of match together? And your experience with the global responsibility of quality in your company, what do you think that the markets are now equal, and in which position is Brazil when we talk about quality? The apps, this is not the word. So hotspots, features. I think features that the client can use within a larger connectivity. So we go back to the discussions that the professor mentioned in relation to all the processes that you should well qualify what you're going to do. So if you offer a mechanical system, you qualify it. If you have a mechanical system with electronics on board, you qualify it. If you insert connectivity, you're going to offer this service, you qualify it. And then you go to the off-board, where you go to the connectivity part. The client that needs, he has all the technology on board, but he also is going to depend on a good app, on good connectivity, and this system of developing this work is the same. We always have to be using the most sophisticated. For example, you did the SMA, you developed the design with a supplier, you went through all the steps. So this applies also to the more technological, and the basis of quality applies. Once you have this adjusted and aligned, especially with the participation of specialists, which is the big gain that we have. So you have to have the basic tools, bringing the right specialists for you to say, well, now I'm going to qualify connectivity, I'm going to qualify an app, the embedded service in the products with new technologies. In relation to the second question, Giovanna, totally global. I think Brazil moved forward with large footsteps. When we travel outside, we notice that we have excellent practices and examples. You can do benchmarking in Brazil. You can have good examples of qualities, of results, of leadership, of team working, of PDSAs, world-class manufacturing. So, of course, the industrial world is large. We know this. There are several sectors, several different realities. I'm not in all of them, but what I see today, what I notice today, is that you have a competitive country when we talk about the processes in relation to technology, to knowledge, the leadership capacity, people, engagement. I think going back to what I said in the beginning, technology, connectivity, the capacity to overcome crisis depends a lot of the investment of the leadership in people. And I think that in Brazil, we've always had a fertile field which has strongly developed. Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much for your analysis. And now I have another question. This time it's to Raul Tarcísio Teles, who's also following us. Tarcísio, thank you. He says, with the digitization of the processes, artificial intelligence, autonomous processes, etc., should the role of quality be transformed? Should it be a digital auditing concept? What do you think about this idea, and do you think this corresponds to reality? Very good question. And it's interesting. The digitization process is already ongoing. First, imagine that quality is going to be an area where we're going to audit something. I think this is very small for the size of the quality. The processes are changing, and the quality guy's skill is going to have to change as well. So if before it was important for him to be a good mechanical engineer, focused on the mechanical area of products, today besides that he'll have to have the skill of the big data, of the data analysis, of the internet of the things, and so on. The quality guy, in my opinion, I agree 100% with what Richard said. This will have to permeate all the departments. So it's not the quality guy, but the things of quality permeating. The guy of quality will probably be the maestro of this whole orchestra. So he will allow things to happen, or he'll adjust it here or move it there, but he will have a certain responsibility. But it won't be the figure of an auditor, of an inquisition. That's not what we see, because quality, as we've seen, has been changing with time. If we imagine that I've been in this market for 20 years, for example. So what changed this market ever since the digitization process started is when we used to share computers. Today we work with tablets and things are happening. So Perfect. So our time is drawing to an end. So I want to have a final round. I ask you please to be quick in your responses so that we can listen to everyone. And I'd like you to talk a bit to end this. Let's talk about looking at the future and what we have. In the future, we have a sort of a badly solved pandemic, a whole lot of technological challenges. What should we pay attention to? What are the challenges of quality and what are the opportunities? Where can we improve and have relevant gains for the industry? Starting with Paulo.
Okay, I think Richard has made it very clear that quality is a condition, it's no area or requirement. Everything is quality. My perception of quality might be different from yours, Giovanna, from Richard's, or from all the participants. Each one has a different perception of quality. And again, thinking of the consumer, we have to listen to this person. We have to understand what's relevant for him or her. What might have been relevant yesterday might not be relevant tomorrow. Things change, and we have to react quickly, and we have to think of people who are able to interpret big data. Okay, but information in a more in-depth manner, transform what's important to the client in a technical requirement. Today the world is very dynamic, very quick. The social media, the web massify all information. So we have to be quick to react. We have to understand the trends very quickly, and the quicker we are able to adopt a new concept, that will give you an advantage in the fight for consumers and in order to achieve the expected quality or quality level. Raul, what's your opinion? I wholeheartedly agree. And will have to be increasingly faster. Everything is quick, the speed of information is quicker. Quality has to keep up with all that. And we have to be at the forefront of change. I recalled that a while ago, in order to see something, we used encyclopedias, Now the information is at your fingertips. So talking about quality today and thinking of this as rupture, we have to think of skills and people. If we don't have skilled people, forget it. We have to be at the forefront. I agree with Richard. Brazil has a good background of globalization. We have internal or in-house benchmarks in order to improve, and we have all the required tools to overcome difficulties. Richard, please give us your vision. I think that quality is always in people, lies always in people. When you're able to integrate businesses, businesses are integrated through people. We talk about business to business, business to consumer, but at the end of the day, I learned that Paulo said that he worked for another company, I worked for another company, but the greatest improvements, that it's the fruit of the work from different teams comes from the different teams. People working, people trying to do things better, looking for new technologies, etc. So I believe that opportunities will always be latent, and we have to catch them. So I go back to leadership that has to work in order to integrate teams. We have to be customer-centered. I don't have to think about what the customer wants from me. I have to put myself in the client's shoes, in the future client's shoes, what they think about mobility, connectivity, etc. Serviceability, we spoke about that. We spoke about all the embarked technology and products, so that the teams worked creatively, being competitive in order to meet our customers' need and to be at the forefront of disruption. Disruption happens, but we have the opportunity of analyzing what's coming, who's developing what, how we are working, what's new, so that we keep our teams at the forefront of innovation and the success of our organizations. Thank you, Richard. It's very good to wrap up our debate about this vision of human skills and capabilities. Paulo, Raul, and Richard, I'd like to thank you very much for your availability and your willingness to overcome technical issues. It was great to have you, the three of you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you. Well, and we are going we're going on to the final debate of IQABX, and we're going to talk about the impact of new technologies on quality for the future automaking industry. We are going to welcome Francis Aries, Prototype Engineering Manager from Volkswagen, Alexander Ushimura, Manager of New Business in Electrification, Bosch Latin America. Let's begin with Francis. Francis, it's a pleasure to welcome you here. Francis, can you hear us? Well, apparently Francis has technical problems as well. Both Francis and Alexander are connecting to our platform here. Please bear with us for this final debate. We are going to talk about how Volkswagen has been developing new vehicles, the internationalization of their projects, and engineering supply offering for other countries. A very interesting case. And Alexander, if he's able to connect, he will bring us Bosch's vision on electrification, how the company has organized and has been developing new technologies. He will bring us this vision. Let's see if we're able to connect Francis to our platform. Thank you so much for bearing with us. I see that everybody is thanking, saying that they are following the quality debates, and I thank you. We are trying to bring you relevant talks, but of course there are always unforeseeable issues. Whilst Francis connect to our platform and going back to our live, we will hear a message from Alexander Xavier, who spoke in the beginning. I said he was coming back, and he's back with us in order to say what IQA is preparing. Alexander, are you there? Hi. Hello. I think he can't hear us. Can you hear me, Ale? I don't know if you have muted your microphone. Yes, it was muted. Obviously, you wouldn't hear me. Yes, we always forget to unmute the mic. Unfortunately, it happens more frequently than what we would like to. Giovanna, can you hear me? Is it Francis? Hello. Oh, I changed. I went to another room in my house. Francis, I'd like to wait for 1 minute because Alexander is going to give us a quick message and then we'll be back, okay? Now, taking the opportunity, I'd like to underscore to everybody that today's content will be available for everybody to watch it. If you want to see it again, if you want to watch it again, or if you were not able to attend our conference, please visit IQMX and you'll have the whole content of today. And we have registration for the next stage of the quality path in the automotive industry. The basis is IQMX, but focusing on marketing. So what after sales should do and what's the impact of everything that has happened on after sales. Excellent take-home message, Ali. So let's go on to our final debate. Francis, let's start our talk, and I'd like to know, how does Volkswagen Engineering has adapted to new needs, new technology requirements? We know that Volkswagen is making a special effort towards digitalization, and how has this impacted on engineering and quality? Well, what Volkswagen Brazil, especially our product engineering, has been doing is to build the NIVUS in a virtual manner. When we decided that we were going to develop this car, and we are the first to do it all over the world, we understood that it was going to be very difficult to stop thinking about building or developing a physical car and doing it virtually using simulations. And that was going to be used not only by engineering, but all departments would be involved, quality, procurement, etc. Because we used to have physical cars, physical parts, we assembled them and built a car. Marketing tells us what the market needs, design conceives something, designs something, engineering transforms that into mathematics, and manufacturing manufactures a physical car. In the virtual world, things are not so different. It's even better, it's quicker. We were able to achieve great savings in the process, and in the virtual world, I can have different prototypes. Yeah, because our costs are greatly reduced, but we couldn't do it on our own. You know, in order to develop a prototype, I have to have several departments involved, and quality has to be together. We thought of the virtual world and how things were done in the physical world. Then we have collision problems, etc. So quality has to be with us. We have a pilot project, procurement, etc. Nothing changed. all departments invested in new software and new tools, and quality came along. That's it. From what you said, the digitalization processes, simulation, tests, prototypes, oh, this is a very fruitful process. Which were the gains achieved? You reduced, for instance, lead time for development. Have you decreased costs? Have you had productivity gains? What can you say about it? Very good. As far as lead time to manufacture the physical cars after engineering has done all designs and calculations, having a first prototype and delivering the key to the colleagues who are going to test the car, I have at least to have 19 weeks, 5 months. We have forums in Germany where we are going to introduce the car. In the real world, it takes 23, 24 weeks. In the virtual world, it is 13 for an ordinary car and 15 weeks when the car is more sophisticated. The cost of prototype tools is very high in the total cost of engineering and product development, especially if you have a new hood, from the front bumper to the back bumper. For instance, for Tiguan, we had new cars, new prototypes, etc. In the virtual world, we are able to gain time thanks to the software we have, and at the same time, the testing areas don't have to wait for the physical car on the 20th or 25th week. With the virtual car, we don't have to have this long lead time, so we have gains since the prototype until the latest tests to release the car for production, for manufacturing. So we have reduction both in development, at the prototype stage even more, and this is reflected in the development as a whole, and financial savings. I mean, this is obvious when you compare a physical prototype to a virtual prototype. Francis, Volkswagen has recently announced that you have exported this kind of service, development and engineering services. I'd like you to elaborate a bit on that, and what were the drivers that led Brazilian engineering to supply or to offer solutions to other countries. This has happened very frequently with us in Brazil, especially with product engineering. Until 5 years ago, before we had the Naivas and others, we were always lagging behind vis-à-vis products developed in Germany. After a while, we were on the same footing with them because we had to rethink ourselves as product engineering. We had to look for a certification that we call, between inverted commas. We wanted to become a global developer, and in order to be a global developer and to be responsible for the whole of the Americas down the Rio Grande. And since we are the only engineering department abroad, we had to reflect what was done in Wolfsburg. Uh, so our processes are 100% mirror of the prototype department in Wolfsburg. The development of the body and trims are the same. So we are called shadow or mirror department, so to speak. And we'd like to take part in global developments, and the development we faced was to develop a concept car for Europe here in Brazil, since the development until the manufacturing of the physical car. It's a car that's on the European market, T-Roc. From then on, it was very clear that regardless of being strong, having a lot of know-how and experience, it was very easier. The process of building the Xerox was our business card. And there are processes in Brazil that were copied in Germany, just like we did with some of their processes. Well, the Xerox was our business card. After that, they didn't have any more doubts about it, and we started being consulted, because they said instead of giving this job to a service provider that sometimes it's at 600 kilometers, there are no problems to send the request to Brazil. Brazil is going to do it. The engineering will develop it, and Francis will develop the prototypes. The latest project that was widely debated was a project we developed for Skoda. We developed over 100 prototypes here. We finished in the beginning of the year. Before Skoda, we worked for Seat, for Volkswagen, for others through Volkswagen Germany, and we have become the so-called mirror or shadow. And we are very speedy. We have a very good speed. That's it. Interesting. But, well, apparently you have your hands full, right? Yes, that's right. So we are getting to the end of our conversation. I have one last question for you, having to do with the cybersecurity. And this is something that has been often mentioned. You know, okay, we have a connected car, virtual reality, etc. And that, of course, expose the car or the owner to new vulnerabilities, to new weaknesses. How do you ensure cybersecurity in your developments? What I tell my peers or colleagues who asked me this question is that software tools that we used to look for data to develop a virtual car are precisely the same we have used in Volkswagen, as if it were a physical car. Now, talking about the virtual world and being inside a machine, a computer, that might give you the feeling that you might be invaded, someone might steal something virtual, and that might be easier than the physical car. because in order to manufacture a physical car, you have the parts first. In the virtual world, within a machine, in 8 or 10 weeks, you might have the whole car there. But we are very careful with our procedures at Worldwide Volkswagen. We follow all the rules in order to protect our virtual tools or technology tools. Now we have more connectivity, more product, more innovation, and we know that when we change from one product to another, 90% of what will be used in the next car is electronics. New connections, new connectivity, new ways to deal with the product, and to have a better package of offering to our clients. Well, the client is used to different colors, different color seats, bucket seats, etc. But the customer now wants to know if he is on a highway at 120 kilometers per hour and he's able to interact via internet. And for all that to happen, we have to have cybersecurity. And for that, we have a very skilled team at Volkswagen where they develop structures, they develop constructive processes, trying to rule out any attempt of invasion to our products. So we have a very strong team in Brazil, and they are deeply concerned with cybersecurity. That's it. Francis, I'd like you very much for your time and availability. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you. Well, we haven't been able to connect Alexander Ushimura from Bosch. He was not able to connect. There was an instability. These are the emotions of the digital world, but we're going to see if he accepts to record a video to share his vision with us, because he has devoted some time to prepare this talk. So we're going to publicize his message. And Alexander from IQA has a final take-home message. Thank you, Giovanna. I'm sorry. Please, I'd like to emphasize the survey that was mentioned in the beginning of our event. We are going to publicize this survey in the next months about the theme which is the main focus of our conference today, the role of quality in the future automobile industry. There are no doubts about innovation and digital transformation on quality. Likewise, there is no doubt or issue about the change that will impact the role of quality at different levels. However, it's very clear, according to the survey, that quality is being developed, or the role of quality is being changed and developed. So we understand, we hope that this event has helped you to build the future of quality, which is underway right now. I'd like to wish you a very good end of afternoon. I'd like to thank you very much for your attendance, and I wish you success, because today is World Quality Day. Thank you very much. Very good. It was very important to remember that today is World Quality Day. My congratulations to all of those who work in quality departments and who have this difficult task to offer quality to automotive products. This debate, ABX, IQA, IQX, together is coming to an end. I'd like to thank you very much. I'd like to thank IQA's partnership and all the speakers we have had this afternoon who gave their time to take part in this debate. Tomorrow we have more ABX. It's the last today. We are very excited. We are going to have a very relevant debate in the morning from 10 to noon about leadership, this capacity that all of us have to develop, leading not only large teams but projects. So I'd like to invite you to join us in this debate. We're going to have the CEO of FCA in Latin America, Ladriola, CEO of Team Brazil, Patrice Lucas, CEO of TSA, and Marcos Cagliari, CEO of Ipsos. Ipsos was here today as well. And to wrap up our day, we have Paulo Camargo, CEO from the Brazilian Department of McDonald's, the Golden Arches. He is going to share some lessons and learnings from digitalization and the relationship between McDonald's and the mobility industry in order to see how to establish new connections. I'd like to invite you to have lunch with us tomorrow because we're going to have a musical live at lunchtime. The idea is to complete our morning session, and then you'll have lunch having our music in the background. In the afternoon we have a masterclass with the VP and our major speaker Pablo DC from Volkswagen. We have a lot to say. We are waiting for you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Driverless cars, connected services, new sharing concepts. The automotive industry is in the midst of change. The Internet of Things is opening up a whole new world of possibilities that will push the boundaries of mobility. But what will the future really look like on the roads? One thing is for certain. New technologies are going to revolutionize today's mobility. They will turn the journey into a digitally enhanced experience and connect the vehicle to its surroundings. With Bosch, connected mobility is becoming a reality, more efficient, safer, and more comfortable and convenient.
Itaú Veículos. Soluções completas, ferramentas modernas, alta tecnologia. Reconhecimento facial, mais segurança e agilidade na compra e venda de veículos. Chat na plataforma digital. Comunicação mais fácil entre a concessionária e nosso time. Open Banking. União entre plataformas e parceiros. Inteligência artificial. Essencial na captura e gestão de leads. Soluções de mobilidade. Com a Connect Car, seu cliente vai mais longe. Olhamos para o futuro. Queremos sempre mais. Vamos juntos? Itaú Veículos. Nosso negócio é viabilizar o seu.
Mounting exterior automotive parts can be a slow process that requires the use of a noxious chemical adhesion promoter. However, our Tessa ACX primerless line of high-performance double-sided acrylic foam tapes eliminates the need for primers. These tapes quickly achieve a high level of strength and provide the thermal expansion characteristics needed when mounting side moldings, decorative trims, emblems, and other exterior attachment parts. To learn more about the benefits and cost savings of using our Tessa ACX Plus primerless line on difficult-to-bond substrates such as polypropylene EPDM, TPO, and TPE, visit tessatape.com.